Stop the false narrative. It was necessary, but it is a bailout. I had another topic I wanted to work on for today, but I'm concerned that the attempted quasi-redemption of banking, both traditional banking and investment banking in the media is in full vogue. And that is the reason we get into the soil, wash, rinse, repeat cycle with the fraud sector. The financial sector. During the 2016 primary, Senator Bernie Sanders said that Wall Street's business model is fraud. I do not believe Bernie went far enough with that statement. He should have said that our entire financial sector is predicated on legalized fraud. In other words, most of what is done in the financial sector are legal, but being legal does not mean ethical, moral, or beneficial to society. When one understands the definition of a parasite, it is difficult not to see that the financial sector is flushed with a large contingent of parasites and parasitic behavior. The problem is we continue to coddle them and make excuses for them. That is the biggest moral hazard in our country. Too often, we are quick to deny help to those who this sector bleeds dry with the narrative that helping the poor, creating necessary humane services, and the fair distribution of unearned gains would somehow create a moral hazard. Many saying this are members of the financial sector where moral hazard is, in fact, continually in play. Projection only works if we allow it to work. The media highlighted the voices of many who put ridiculous possibilities for the reasons for the failure of Silicon Valley Bank. They allowed the woke argument, the diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI argument, the inflation argument, the interest rates argument, and many others to create a bait and switch paradigm that takes one eye off of the issue. The financial sector creates instruments not to do good or produce a product or service beneficial to society, but parasitic instruments to enrich those with capital. If a product or something good comes out of it, then it is a PR moment to capitalize on as the scam continues. Let's get something straight. We, the American people, bailed out a lot of rich investors who had deposits in Silicon Valley Bank. The FDIC's funds by law insured $250,000 per account. President Biden used his power to extend that to deposits of any size. While investors in the bank stock proper will lose their investments, there are instruments that will allow the recovery of much of that. But make no mistake, account over $250,000 received a bailout. When they claim that the FDIC is paying for the accounts and as such, taxpayers are not on the hook, that may be seemingly true, but factually false. The banks pass all those fees right back to the taxpayers with higher fees and lower interest on their deposits. While I understand that President Biden had to bail these banks out, instead of stressing that it is not a bailout or would not affect taxpayers, he should have talked about regulating the financial sector so they would stop the soil, wash, rinse, repeat cycle. They begged the government to make them whole when they expectedly screw up and pay politicians to keep the government off of their backs when they are profiting and accumulating their ill-gotten unearned gains. Here is a note from Fidelity Investment blog post one should digest. Several factors led to the precipitous collapse of SVB. Most of SVB's clients include tech and venture capital companies, in addition to executives for those firms. In an effort to attract clients, SVB offered relatively higher rates on deposits compared with many larger rivals. To help fund these higher prices, SVB bought longer-term, higher-yielding bonds when it was cash-rich. But that was before the Fed began aggressively hiking rates and the venture capital market experienced some turbulence. The value of most of those bonds SVB purchased has declined substantially. Bond values generally decrease as interest rates increase, result in big investment losses. It is clear many of the accounts with millions were not just small companies putting their money, their employee checks and so forth in the bank. Many a times, these were actual investment accounts because of the higher interest rates that supposedly was secure that SVB was providing. So folks, let's be clear here. This was a bailout. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.